The recording has started.
The recording has started. Well, hello, Easton.
Well, hello, Cole. You're always so proper.
Yeah. So what we got going?
Episode 20? 20? That's a pretty big number.
That is a big number.
Cool. We made it through the teens into the 20. We haven't stopped yet. We're not going to stop. I did want to ask the audience, if you have been with us the whole time, or at least have listened to or watched every episode, let us know below. Throw in the comments. Kind of curious how many people we have that have actually been here for all 20. That's not a lot, but it's also not like a small amount.
It's enough to get through a long road trip with.
Yeah, it's true. 20, anywhere from an hour to hour and a half. Dude, that's like a day.
That is like a day. So what are we talking about today?
What's
going on today?
We've got a guest coming on, I think.
How come we always think? We always come through.
Well, I mean, there could... So I only say that because there could be technical issues or difficulties, I think is the correct term there. No, we do have a guest. Yeah, 100%. Guest coming on. And we're going to go over some late motorcycle news. Technically, I think we need to discuss MotoGP from England a little bit. But if we get there, we get there. If not, sorry. We'll cover it next week.
You just want to talk about how your picks were better than mine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. You want to get the guest on here?
Yeah.
Cover up some Moto America and some USBA. All right.
I like it. Go.
Yesterday at one point, I was in sixth.
Look at that. Special guest.
It's Jack Miller. Haven't you always wanted Jack Miller on your podcast?
We got Jack Miller. I'm putting that in the title.
That's what I'm saying. This is going to be great for you guys. Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck? And then I'm going to be like, hey, let me introduce you to Jack Miller. Yeah. That's happening. He's being a feisty little shit right now, so he had to come out. Say hi.
Easton's drinking out of a mom mug.
I see that.
Mug. Well, I went to Walmart one time. This is like years ago, and I was like, I need a big mug because I want to drink a lot of coffee, right? And the biggest mug they had happened to say "mom" on it. It was like that or some like stupid palm tree gay bullshit.
I would have went with the palm tree, honestly.
I'm a great mom.
Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom. So where are we going to start today? You might as well start where you already started. Why don't you introduce your guest?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
wait, we got to introduce you. You're the guest.
Welcome
back.
Are
we rolling? Are we rolling?
We've been rolling.
It's been recording the whole time.
Oh, God. You guys always do this to me. Luckily, I didn't say anything stupid this time.
Yeah, totally.
You guys have always wanted Jack Miller on your show, right? Like Jack Miller, the greatest MotoGP rider of the current day, personality, and my personal favorite. So I brought Jack Miller along with me, my personal friend. Meet Jack Miller. Look at the cute little guy.
Where's his bike?
Right there. He's an Australian carpet python, so naturally his name is Jack Miller.
All right. I'll give you that. Australian. Yeah. Well, hey, Jack Miller's on the podcast. Also, Anthony, Lugnut, Norton, whatever.
Nobody cares about that.
No one cares about that when you get Jack Miller. So
Jack Miller still in the show.
I like
Thanks for having me and Jack on board tonight, guys. He's extra happy to be a part of the show. So
thanks for coming. You gotta hold him up a little higher.
I'm trying to find the camera here. My screen's backwards, but yeah. So that's Jack Miller. He's a Australian carpet python. He's only like a couple months old.
You're saying carpet?
Carpet.
Yeah.
So where does the carpet come from?
I'm not sure because like I thought like they're ground dwelling, right? And honestly, this guy loves to climb stuff. So I don't know if he's just retarded or if carpet was misleading. I think it's some of both. He's a little retarded, honestly. Like I opened his cage out to let him out, and he kept trying to go through the glass, and I was like, "Nah, dude, like,
it's open. You're good. There's a door."
No offense to our Australian friends, but there's something special about all of you.
Well,
Well,
how
that's
long
because
is
they're
that thing?
so used to being upside down, right? So when you open it on the top, he just
Oh, it
Yeah.
all makes sense
Yeah.
now. It all makes sense now. Yes, thank you. I never thought about that before. Never thought about that before.
Yeah, I think we're
So,
actually
yeah.
just trying to build enemies on the podcast.
I think
Honestly,
actually you are.
Yeah, Mr. Old People hater and Kawasaki hater. Don't think I didn't hear that. Yeah. Got a bone to pick, buddy. What's up with that?
All right, go for it. Hit me with it. I got facts. I'll back anything up.
Okay. Am I old? Where's your facts? Where's your proof?
State your date of birth.
10/7/86.
Yeah, 80s. Whoa. Yeah.
Jesus, dude. Hey, Cole, can you cut him out? I think we're done with Easton now.
I'm not running the controller. Next time.
Unfortunately
God
for
dang
you,
it, man.
I have the controls.
I mean, the only thing I can do
All
is
right.
the old check engine thing. I can put a piece of tape over him, but that only helps me.
Hey, how did that check engine light work out for you this weekend? Oh, sorry, too soon.
Are you bringing that
We'll
up
get into
already?
that. Oh,
You
no,
bringing that up
said
already?
So I did
said
order you.
engine.
I ordered a tombstone.
Me?
No, not for you.
Oh, for the Beamer.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
Cole,
head
tell
it
us what
out.
happened this weekend. We're just gonna roll into stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Like
I mean, that's what we
normal.
do. We don't
So
have
what happened
hours
this
to sit
weekend?
here and talk about Jack Miller. So
So how do you want this story? You
Give me a
want it like
minute.
this? It was a beautiful, sunny, 80-degree day.
more.
Great start. Yeah. Elaborate.
Keep it going.
A few white, fluffy clouds floating through the sky. The smell of caterpillars moving dirt in the background.
Oh, those caterpillars. Okay.
Are we? Is Jack telling the story? Are we building a motocross track in our backyard or what?
Yeah, with
Oh.
cats specifically.
Yeah. Did
Dude,
you
I
see
will
that?
say, yeah. So
Yeah.
that is my favorite. Like all the other dudes during the 5-week break of MotoGP, they're out like at the beach or hanging out with their friends at the bar or whatever. And Jack Miller's like, "Yeah, check out this backhoe I just bought. I'm like gonna go build this sick track in my yard or whatever he's doing." I'm like, "All right, that's what's up."
I'm telling you, he is absolutely the personality of this sport. Like that's the kind of personality that the sport needs. Like I love that guy, and he's
I
an
agree.
amazing rider, very talented. Obviously, you know.
Mhm.
Would I pick him out of the crowd as my favorite rider without him being who he is? I don't know. I don't think so. I think I like Jack just because he's just real. He's raw. He tells it like he sees it, you know, and like he just
Well,
loves the shit.
let's elaborate on that a little bit. So if you had to pick any MotoGP rider to have like a mystery box, you don't know what bike they're going to ride. You don't know what brand, you don't know what bike, and they're going to show up at Otessa, a track that they've never ran on, and it's going to be raining or snowing. Which guy are you picking?
Current riders,
Current riders.
my boy.
I'm taking Jack. I get the feeling that he might not be the cream of the crop, the most refined rider there is, but I get the feeling that you could shove him on any bike and he'd do pretty good.
Only
Yeah,
for
I think
argument's sake, I would be curious. I would like to do the same test with Bezecchi there.
He honestly came to mind, and like I don't know,
Yeah.
like we haven't seen as much of him on the top stage, you know, of course, and
Right.
obviously he's only ridden the Ducati and MotoGP or whatever, but I feel like that guy's kind of an animal too, you know. Yeah, when you said that, of course, Jack to me, I'm like thinking, okay, like this guy, he's just super raw. I think he'd do it, but Bezecchi, totally agree that dude's probably going to be a beast on anything we put him on. So not a bad point there. Forget about the rest of those guys because nobody cares about any of them anyways. Let's just keep Marquez and Bezecchi, or not Marquez. Sorry, definitely nobody cares about him. Let's just
Yeah, nobody.
The few people that do care
Miller.
about him won't if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anymore.
Where are they at next?
Red Bull
Austria.
Ring, Austria.
Oh, well, if he doesn't pull a rabbit out of his ass for that one, then we'll see. Poor guy,
Yeah.
Marquez speaking. But
Nah,
anyways,
I've written this
hold
season
on.
off on that aspect, but
Let's talk about real racing. Utah SBA.
yes.
Cole was just getting ready to tell us a story about how his weekend went.
Yeah. Where were we? Caterpillars moving dirt,
Caterpillars,
The smell
moving dirt
of
in the
caterpillars.
background.
entering your nostrils.
Yeah. Oh, that actually happened. I forgot. Yeah, that was going on.
So someone wasn't racing very much, and someone else was busy watching lines and
Well,
riding
that was a hit,
motorcycles.
huh?
That was really it.
That was a hit. I mean, you
Dude,
blow the bottom out of
Easton-
one motor, and this is the crap you get.
Oh, and there it
Easton-
is. There it
Easton
is.
with the digs. Yeah, no more surprises. R.I.P. BMW. All of the what do you call them? Yeah. Anyways,
S1000 RRR.
It's only two. Honda was the one that.
are
Hey.
you broken?
I broke it. The bike is dead at the moment. Gone. I actually just unloaded it out of the trailer.
Oof.
Finally.
I guess it's only Monday for us. Yeah.
I
Okay.
was just gonna,
All right.
yeah. I was just gonna stick it. I was just gonna leave it in the trailer as a
And just
monument.
put the tombstone on top of the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe buy a different trailer.
Don't worry. I haven't
Well,
even got that far.
if you never pull it out, then people are gonna be like, "Oh man, what's that?" You're like, "Oh yeah, she's too fast for this."
Yeah. This track's too small.
Yeah.
So yeah, we said it. BMW made it through a track day, made it through the first two races of the day.
Completely.
I was in a heated battle. I was in one of the funnest confrontations on the track I've ever been in for a full 7 laps. I mean, it started right from the get-go, made it all the way to the start-finish line. On the cool-down lap, she decided to try singing a song that wasn't the normal song, but luckily I was off the track before the snare drum came in.
Did you?
Snare drum with a little bit of hi-hat.
Did you pull off and then just like dump the bike and walk off? And when your team tried to talk to you, just give them the hand.
I should have ghost rode it, huh?
This
I
is
should have
terrible.
ghost rode it.
How
that's
dare
the
you
Beamer
give me
thing
such
to
a
do.
bad bike?
Yeah.
Actually, he just PR'd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You went faster again.
What was your best time this weekend?
1:43.3.
So a whole second faster.
Yep.
Just about.
Chipping away, man. There you go.
Chipping.
And that was pretty early on, right?
No.
Oh.
No, so I had all these lofty goals, and Friday the track day, I come right out of the gate running consistently, 145s, the occasional 144, but I just couldn't get it to drop below that PR level. Like you said, Anthony, as soon as the race came, as soon as the flag dropped, her last race with that.
Can we get a moment of silence? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
She ran. I looked at the numbers afterwards because I was trying to figure out how that other guy beat me. There were 3 143s in there, so it wasn't
a fluke.
Wasn't a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did 43s in both races, though, didn't you?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there you go. So the new norm, no longer PR.
So what's the move, right? Everyone knows you're not. There's no way you're getting a Kawasaki because then you definitely wouldn't win any races. And
you're talking.
So
hold
what's
on. Wait till
next?
we get to my side of the story. Nice try. You bum.
So Cole's got some options, right? I got a 2022 sitting on the shelf that hasn't seen the track. I just ordered
a number plate for that, number 83.
That's what you said. Is it like the magnet kind, so you can put it over top of mine?
Yeah. No, it's like
a magnet
it's like
on
it's like
You
sticky
probably-
film for a window. It
You
just
probably
goes on
put
and off.
you probably put sugar in my tank so that you had a plan.
You're
You're
right.
like
I split the cases on your motor so that I can go in there and chip away at the transmission gears before you went and rode it, and I put it back together.
With he just took a tooth off, and then JB welded it. He's like, I've actually always wanted to know if this would work.
So I actually sent Jack in there because he can fit down the oil fill, and he went in there and he just licked the shit out of the transmission until it was worn out.
You heard it here. Jack Miller wrecked your bike.
Yeah, Jack Miller said, "You know what? Screw those BMWs."
That's our title this week. Jack Miller wreaks havoc on Utah SBA.
Cole's bike. Yeah.
So we got some interesting things, some decisions to make here, Mr. Lugnut.
Yeah.
I know I've been keeping you in the loop a little bit, but the easy option is to fix the bike. Well, it's not the easy button, but I can fix the bike. The problem is we got USBA round 4 coming up in 3 weeks. 2 weekends, 3 weeks.
Dude, no time to rest, eh?
Yeah, that's going to be hard pressed for a guy that doesn't have a Moto America team at his disposal.
Wait a second. You were a one-man Moto America team, and we still need to talk about that later.
Yeah, you are
Well,
the Moto
that's
America
on the
team.
agenda.
Okay, you could do that. All right.
I can do that. I just wanted you to be here for it. So I didn't.
Well, let's go.
That's why I didn't get into it. So,
all right.
So the option 1, rebuild the motor. We don't have time to do that. Option 2, take the 2022 off the shelf, get her race prepped, and at least run that round, right? Until we can figure out what we're doing with the race bike. That second option, for the listeners out there that are wondering how much that costs to actually go racing.
Good point.
As a guy that races, I didn't realize what that was going to cost until I started making the list. The list goes a little bit like this. We've got a 2022. It's got 1,300 miles on it. So it's as fresh as can be, ready to rock and roll. So
this is stock exhaust and everything, right? It's a bone stock bike right now.
No, I got an ace in a hole, baby. It's got Akrapovic full titanium exhaust, and it's got a Bren tune stage 2 on it already.
Nice.
So we got no dead spots.
Just so the faithful listeners know exactly where we're starting, right?
Yeah. So tune and exhaust though, and what a double bubble windscreen.
Yeah. Well, I've got all the sexy parts on it, right?
Yeah, tail tighty and whatnot, but
all the stuff that does nothing for me on the racetrack. Right.
So it's basically your traditional street squid BMW. Got it.
Yeah, BMW. Yeah, BMW sucks. Street squid. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I'm not saying they suck. I'm just saying, like, you know, right. Almost every bike on the street's got a pipe and a tune. Just about.
I got you, old Henri Pants over here. He already says he's trying to start a fight with everybody. He thinks he's too far away to get reached.
Proven.
Yeah. We answered that question.
So anyway.
So you take it. You take that bike. That's a race bike, right? When you go to BMW to buy it, they say race bike. But then when you realize you want to take it out on the racetrack, you realize, hey, it's not geared right for the track. So we're going to be doing some sprockets. Not a big deal, but all things that start to add up, right? We're going to put race fairings on it. Well, for that particular BMW, I went with Alpha fairing kit, and I got me a neat seat like yours coming.
Nice.
I did find one for the newer bike, but the tail, the fairings, the everything, it all requires brackets, which is not what I've ran into on bikes in the past.
So I think that's a new thing. Like, because my buddy's got the new Pirate Edition, which he's going to be at USBA round 4. But all his fairings needed brackets and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? And like, you just don't bolt up to the bike? It's kind of weird. Anyways.
So side note, I bought the stuff from HHR. And
that's Hustle Hard Racing.
Hustle Hard Racing was nice enough to, they pride themselves on customer service. And they were nice enough to send me an email almost immediately on a Sunday, no less, and let me know that I had forgot to order all the brackets.
Hey, those are the type of guys you want. Those are like the actual. It's not just like, hey, thanks for your order. It's like, hey, thanks for your order. You messed up.
Yeah. Could you imagine
how need this? I promise. Maybe you already got it. Whatever. But if you don't, you need this.
Yeah. Could you imagine how pissed that any of us would be? Like, we're on a time crunch. We get our stuff just in the nick of time. We start drilling. We start mounting and realize, shit, there's nowhere to hang this thing from because I didn't order brackets. And nowhere did it say I needed brackets.
Yeah, is. I will say that's like the bonus of these kind of smaller companies here in America, at least, that everyone that runs these companies does what we do.
Right.
To some degree. So
they know the struggles.
Yeah, right. They've been there before. If you're ordering off Amazon or Revzilla or whatever, you're not going to get that email. You're not going to get that guy that's like, I have put fairings on BMW before, or I have made that mistake, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
So we got that figured out, but then we got a radiator guard. We had to, some of these things you can fake your way through, right? But I ordered new number plates for it. I ordered a titanium bolt kit. So that's why I was asking how big your number plate was, to see if it would cover mine.
I'll leave the
edges. You
could
take it off between rounds.
I'll leave the edges of yours. That way they know that I just borrowed it. I don't need to claim it. I just want to ride the thing. Yeah. I've never ridden one. I just want to ride it. That's all there is to it. You get it race prepped, and I'm going to be like, hey, stock 1000 race at least. I'm going to go ride this thing.
Yeah. I might not say no.
I got a credit card, dude. I'm sponsored by American Express. It's all good. Like, if anything happens.
Hey, that's my sponsor.
Hey, like, they love club racers.
Yeah, crazy.
So you get this
way too much money.
Yeah,
you get this big pile of parts. You have to have, the brake lever guard. You have to have some engine case guards. You have to have, all your
safety
wire bolt kit. Of course, you could drill them, but That's the one thing I wasn't worried about time crunch wise.
You have to have a belly pan.
Have to have a belly pan.
Do you have to have the upper fairings?
So technically not, but like if you're talking about class rules, if your bike, I think most clubs you'd find somewhere in there that if your bike comes equipped with a windscreen, it's supposed to have, or they have homologation on the bodywork. So like, you know, in a stock 1000 class, for instance, even at club racing level, you're not supposed to just run carbon fiber bodywork with 67 Ducati wings on your Kawasaki or BMW or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like you have to run, the bike's supposed to model what it looked like off the showroom floor.
But I'm just asking, right? Obviously, like if you're building a race bike to race, you're going to get full fairings for it. That's just going to be easier, cheaper, whatever down the line. But in your instance, like could you have gotten away with, I'm only using this weekend, I only need the bare minimum to meet standards. Could you have put a belly pan underneath and then taped up your lights?
I don't think. Oh, with the street fairings. Is that what we were talking about?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. We've done that at CVMA. Like somebody did their NRC and they didn't have race body work. We're like, you know what? Like, let's disable your lights. Let's tape them up really good. Put some numbers on there. Make sure you use a turkey basting pan as a belly pan. Like I've seen some wild stuff, you know.
All right.
But absolutely, like there's no requirement that says you need race body work. It just has to meet the safety specifications.
Right. Okay. So, because I think you're about to put a price out at some point here. So that price is if you're doing it the right way. But yeah, if you want a aluminum sheet pan underneath, zip tied up or whatever, lots of duct tape, then you're good to do that. Maybe.
Yeah, you get a 1 round exemption.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you do a good enough job with the duct tape.
So
just bring some rattle cannon. You know.
So at the end of this whole parts list, I'm sure I forgot some things because and we've established that, you know, I could have duct taped my number on the front too. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, I want it to look fresh too. Got to look good to go fast, at least in
true story.
So
yeah, that's true. The aluminum turkey basting pan would probably be bad on aerodynamics.
Yeah, it'll cost you 2 seconds minimum.
Yeah.
So I basically took this brand new bike that's a race bike again, and I'm throwing another $5,200 at it at this point.
That's a Gixxer?
But that Gixxer wouldn't be race ready necessarily. I mean, you could maybe find a track prep bike for that kind of price.
I mean, that's not, honestly, like when you think about it, like it's not terrible. And you got extra things like a dash protector, right? Like stuff like that. Yeah, it's not necessary, but those aren't cheap, man. Like the one on my bike, just that houses the dash on the bike is like $450 or something like that from Graves. You know, it's not cheap, and the different bikes are different. I think on my Cowie, I threw on some hot bodies, you know, at one point in time, and some case covers, a brake lever guard, and I drilled all my own holes.
Right.
You know, I might have been into the thing for $2,000, so it wasn't nearly as bad. So the different bikes that, you know, and
and especially
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say the new ones, right? Like all your post 2020 bikes. Yeah, that's where that money really starts coming in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like even the price of the bikes have gone up so substantially. I feel like the parts just kind of replicated it. But you know, you got some high quality stuff, and there's nothing wrong with some of the product names that I mentioned. Like GB Racing is very high quality stuff, but it's not the most expensive. Hot bodies, it serves a purpose. I'm not a huge fan, but it serves a purpose.
That's what I've got on my track bike because it was the cheapest that was available. So,
and seriously, on a track bike, you're gonna crash it eventually, anyways. So like, put a $25 rattle can paint job on the thing and go have fun.
Yeah. Or just leave it primered like most people do.
Absolutely. But if I had a 2022 BMW, is yours an S or an M?
It's an S.
All right. Either one. But if I had a brand new 2020 S or M 1000 R, if there's an extra one, I would definitely put the nicest stuff on it. You know, like I'd go get the carbon and body work or, you know, the alpha stuff or whatever. Like, why not? Like, it's a brand new bike. This might be the one time that you spend the big money to have the nicest stuff on it, because the first time it hits the ground, you're like, yeah, I ain't doing that again. I'm gonna go to hot bodies, you know?
Well, the other interesting part, that's what I was digging around for. You see this?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm taking this on the airplane tomorrow because you have to have a freaking
What is that? Not everyone watches. What is that?
Oh, sorry. The owner's manual
Okay.
for said 2022. So it's got all these race modes, right, on the bike. You were showing Anthony at the track. You were showing my wife the dash on your bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
and all the cool doohickeys and all the things that it can monitor.
Yep.
And when we got home, she's like, "Let's go look at that bike." I'm like, well, you never seen my bike? It's been sitting in the garage for 2 years, you know? She says, "Let's go look at that bike." And so we started playing around with it, and she says, "Well, what can this one do with this and this, you know?" So I go to the Sport Dash, and it's got, you know, I've got all those same sensors already on that bike. So like brake pressure, clutch pressure, suspension movement, you know, it's got the electronic suspension and everything on it. But
Oh, so it'll tell you that with the
yeah,
electronic suspension?
yeah,
That's
it's got
pretty
those
cool.
same.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, so it's got all that. But additionally, the reason I'm taking said book is because you got to be a computer engineer in order to run it, I think.
It's because on motorcycles, there's only so much room, which I will say, just real quick, BMW, their like little whiz wheel or whatever they call it, one of the best I've ever seen. Because everyone
For
else,
getting through the menu,
yeah, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty rad.
Everyone else, you just have like 2 buttons, and then you got to try and figure out how to get in, how to get it out, how to get all the way back out, how to adjust something. Like bikes are
It's
terrible.
basically like a cheat code on a video game, right? Like you had to
Yeah.
hit up 17 times while holding your breath and then down 3 times to get to
Yeah.
your traction control settings.
Well, yeah, and like on my Aprilia, my rider mode is my start button.
Oh, that's weird.
So like while riding down the street, you just hit
You're
your
hitting the start button.
Yeah, and it switches
Yeah.
your riding mode, and it freaked me out the first time because I had no idea, and I was like, I don't see it anywhere on the other, in the menu or anything, and I couldn't just like click on it and then change it. So I googled it and it was like, oh yeah, just hit the start button. I was like, no freaking way, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have to do it while it's running, right? Because if it's not running, then I guess you might be able to like turn the kill switch off and then do it to change it if it's not running. But anyway, yeah.
The only thing about the whiz wheel, as you call it, I think the whiz wheel is a great idea until you bust it off. Which I mean, that's one of the first things that go when you put a bike down, right?
Yeah.
So actually, on the on the race bike builds, I think they like on the Cowie, I use the stock switches, and we actually integrated them. Like so, the what do you call it? The pit limiter is tied into one of the buttons on the stock switches because you no longer really need any of that stuff, anyways. But on the BMWs, because I've actually talked to somebody about building one because I'm kind of kicking around ideas for what bike I'm doing next. You have to replace those, like you get rid of them when you do the wire harness, the race wire harness. So when you use the alpha harness or whatever in that ECU, they get rid of those. You have to buy the pods with the little buttons on them and stuff like that. So they don't integrate well, I guess.
All the traffic light buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I call them anyway.
Yeah. When you look at a MotoGP bike, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of buttons.
Yeah. I don't know how they know, because then they've also got the thumb brakes going on.
Well, they have the thumb brakes, and then you have the squat devices, and you got your, all that stuff. I was talking to somebody about the thumb brake, and, like for us, if I was to add that to the bike, that would take a little bit to learn, like, yeah, I'd probably feel pretty comfortable with it in less than a day's time, but I wouldn't go out on the first session and be like, cool, I'm a natural, right? But somebody I was talking to just added one to it, and they're like, wow, it's pretty intuitive, actually. I'm sure because everything's been added over the years on a MotoGP bike, kind of one at a time. I'm sure the guys have kind of adapted or whatever. But
yeah.
Right. So
speaking
back
of MotoGP, let me real quick.
Yeah.
Note 1 from last week. I got to get this out. We were talking about how many people buy race tickets day of compared to beforehand, right? I did my research. Could not find that statistic, but I went through like 7 or 8 different websites and whatnot. MotoGP, I think this was on Reddit, just a thread I was reading, but MotoGP does not sell tickets at most venues at the gate. So if you're going to buy a day of, you at least have to you still have to get online to get that ticket, and then you can go. Besides their overall being down, right, overall attendance being down, they didn't have a whole lot of info on like how many people buy tickets in advance, but it seems like most people are buying them in advance. Not many people are waking up on a Sunday and deciding that day to go down to a MotoGP race. So anyway,
it makes sense though, because like MotoGP is an international sport. Most people are traveling to get there,
right?
So
yep, yeah, and I had that thought too, right? I was like, well, for us, it's in Texas. So unless you live in Texas, you got to fly. You're not going to wake up and fly day of. And then I was like, well, even over in Europe, though, they do it per country, right? It's not every state where you're going to have one in your state. It's like in your country once a year. So yeah. So I think that just kind of lends itself to say that most people aren't buying day of. But
well, I'm glad you got your research done and everything, but that was pretty random, right in the center of my BMW story. So
yeah.
Let's go back to that, all right?
Are we going all the way back to the Caterpillars?
No, not that far back.
Yeah.
So we're still on option 2. So
we're going pretty far back.
Oh, that's a long option.
Well, it's Easton's fault, but so we pulled the trigger on option 2. Those parts are coming. That plan is in play. But I started looking at lead times and things like that, and we're 10 to 14 days out on a lot of those items before shipment. So if it takes another 6 days to ship, I'm going to miss the window, and I don't want to miss the window. So I started jumping back into other options, shopping for used bikes, right? The reason I wanted to bring that up is that bike I shared with you earlier. Easton knows this story. I am so blessed, Anthony. You met my wife. So me and Easton were on the phone earlier today, and I was complaining about something, and she says, why don't you just go buy an M1000? I said,
Yeah,
okay.
We were talking about so I was like, well, I mean, realistically, the chances of you just liking the 2022 more, I don't know, but I gotta imagine
Honestly,
they're pretty high, right?
I haven't ridden one of the older generation BMWs, but I can tell you right now that, like, from what I understand, you'll probably sell the bike after you finish the 22.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Is I was like, you're gonna hop out on that, and then you're gonna be
Or
like,
it'll sit in the trailer so that this doesn't happen to me again.
No, yeah, that
Yeah,
works too.
right.
Then at least you have something to ride, right? Until the wife tells you to buy an M1000 RR, and then now you have your 22 S1000 as your B bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but looking at option 3, the reason I wanted to bring it up is when you
Just go pick
start.
up an M1000, no big deal. Yeah, whatever. Sure, I can do that. Yeah.
That's what she said. It made my eyes big too when she did. But okay. So
Let's go.
You got the keys.
So the interesting thing I ran into today, though, in looking at that, is you think I had myself completely convinced. You forget every once in a while in life, you got to look back at how far you've come. Everybody needs to, for all kinds of different reasons. But my BMW, the one that broke, it's just an old beater bike, whatever, right? But when you really start thinking about it, so I find this first gen BMW. That's the easy button, right? I just go grab that thing. I throw all my parts on that one, and boom, we're good to go. At least for this next one, right? That's the easy button for sure. When I started really looking, so the particular one I was looking at is a high mileage, pristine, well taken care of bone stock bike. Fine, right? Until you start thinking, oh, it's still got a catalytic converter. That means the belly pan that I have won't fit over it.
Won't fit. Yeah.
So I got to yank that exhaust off. I have an exhaust. Great, right? If I throw that exhaust on there, I'm really going to be popping all weekend, you know?
Yeah, without a tune.
So now you got to switch to ECU.
Yeah. So now I got to switch that, but
I'm telling you, it's going to be easier just to swap the motors.
You're right.
No, it
You're
is.
right.
It's not that hard.
So anyway, there's 3 options on the table. I'm sure we'll talk about it. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I think having that third option available, like which one comes available first, is good. And then Lugnut's also offered you to race a Kawasaki if you need to. So
I
You
know,
don't wanna
and I
do that.
appreciate that, but I don't think I can.
Yeah, you don't want to.
can't handle the beast. I know.
Oh, that's only partially true.
Dude, she's
Oh.
wild, man.
I mean, I'd love to drive it, but I think I would have much rather taken it out for a session on a track day.
Well, we can arrange that too.
Just went and
I'll
enjoyed it.
let you take it for a spin. Yeah,
You think you'll make?
absolutely.
You think you make the Friday on the next USBA?
There's a potential for that, yeah. So I've actually got a host of more friends coming up. So we're gonna be our pit. It was fun, by the way, this time. Like Tony Kim, a friend of mine, and then you were pitted with us instead of way out in New Mexico somewhere like last time. And of course Ty and Rainey and Braxton and Justin, and so yeah, Richard came. So it was cool, man. The pit was cool, but. Next time I've got a couple more guys coming from Vegas. And then, what was I thinking? Oh, yeah, a few more guys coming from Vegas. So I think I might actually do the Friday, even though September is a bit of a crazy month for me because we're trying to do another Moto America round the weekend after that. So, but yeah, this weekend was great, man. Like, it was cool to see you guys PR. You and Tony were kind of like on the same level, you know, as far as pace was concerned. He's no slouch. So, I think that was fun for both of you guys to like have somebody to bounce stuff off with that was seeing it at the same pace, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I had a good time running around with him.
Yeah, for sure. So it looked like it, and you know, it was cool. It's cool. Like I love this stuff, man. So you guys cool if I just kind of dive into the USBA stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We said in our first podcast together, we do this again after the USBA round, and we got one more round, so you get to see Lugnut's ugly face maybe one more time on here. So, dude. You better stay in Georgia or wherever the hell you're at back there right now.
don't even know where I am.
Don't
It's good.
don't even bring your ass to Arizona. Actually, I don't. I know I've heard it before, but Carolina.
That's fine. No, we'll just leave it a mystery.
Cole, where's he at?
I'll give you his address. I'm texting it to you now.
I just need a state.
Leave it to the viewers.
I got friends everywhere. Okay, drop a comment. Who knows where Easton lives?
Yeah, put it below.
Put it below.
See who's
If
right.
you think you know, put it below.
I've said it before plenty of times.
The first person that drops a comment on YouTube and says exactly where Easton lives, what state, gets a free JKMoto shirt.
Yeah,
I'll pay
just
for
state.
it. Yeah, just state.
Please don't put my address. Like, if you know my address, you're not.
Address, email, phone number. I want it all for that free shirt. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
My mother's maiden name, first street you
Social
like
security
lived on
number,
or whatever.
I don't care. Yeah, all of it. Anyways, enough with the old jokes. Friday, I actually made it to the track for the first time. I never usually do track days there, so that was kind of neat. I got to ride with Chris Musley from Crossbeam Builders. I've been trying to do that for a long time. We finally got out and did some sessions, and honestly, it was good for me because on Friday evening, the USBA had asked me to do a track walk, like as a representative of the club. I thought that was pretty rad. Like, what do you think, Cole?
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So what is a track walk? Besides, obviously, you're going to go walk around a racetrack. But
yeah,
for our viewers that might not be into racing necessarily or ever been to a racing event.
Yeah, so to each their own, right? Like, and everybody would approach it differently, I think, which was kind of cool how it all shook down, which we can go into more detail. But a track walk is basically like, yes, we're going to walk the track, but we're looking at different things. We're looking at lines. We're looking at like different markers, right? Because like you can't just go around a track and hold the throttle wide open and hope that you're going to make that next turn. Maybe you got to hit the brakes. But where are you going to hit the brakes? Because the further that you can go into the corner on the throttle before you hit the brakes and still make the corner on the right line, the faster your lap times are going to be, right? So ideally, it's just to go out there and do a little bit of homework and kind of brush up on some things around the track. So that's your track walk. In this case, it was also a social thing, like the club racing. We've talked about it before about the family and about getting involved and stuff like that. But the club racing thing, the scene is just a big family. There's 50 people out there, all with common interests that all were I think all of us are trying to get better every time we ride the bikes. But at the same time, it was just cool to spend 2 hours away from racing the bikes, away from working on the bikes, away from Instagrams and everything else. And like, we just walked around and we chopped it up and we talked about riding techniques and we talked about line choices. And I'm not saying I know everything because they asked me to host a track walk. And I think they did that more so because of my personality than my skill level. But luckily I kind of have an idea about how to get around that track.
Yeah, kind of.
Just a little bit,
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. A couple things. I don't want this to go to your head, but I will say that you did a very good job on the track walk. You did better than I anticipated. I know you weren't there, Easton, but he did a really good job breaking down the corners, answering questions, and you just went right to it. I thought it was very informative. I get to spend a lot of time with you, and a lot of the people spend less. So I kind of stood back a little bit and spent my time with, your nemesis, Ty, there.
You got to be able to beat me to be my nemesis.
Oof.
No, that's not true. Nemesis don't always win.
I'm sorry. No, he's my main motivator, man. You can't let your homie beat you in a race.
You guys are insane.
Yeah.
Easton, I'm over there helping Anthony get his tire warmers off, right?
Mm-hmm.
To go out for whatever round.
Right.
And here's Ty over here. Anthony! And I'm like, I look over there and he's just flipping him off, right? And they're flipping each other off. And
that's just
I know
that's how you
Anthony
say
never
hello.
heard most of it,
Right.
because Anthony was all tied up in this track walk and doing very great, informative, whatever. And I was standing back with Ty for a lot of it. And the whole time he just blah, 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 blah.
Talking shit.
That one corner, He said, I do this corner better than you. I'll take this part of the class.
Oh, yeah. He was talking about the D's. What a turd. He did it one time in one race better than me. Actually, he gets around there pretty good. So I made an adjustment this round, though, and it showed. That's for sure.
Right.
It's all, dude, you got to have that kind of fun, right? So, like, I was telling somebody else about it. But, dude, the track walk was literally just talking a bunch of shit about each other and our friends and in a fun way. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
you know, working on the lines. And honestly, I was nervous. I'm glad to hear that it came out really well because
It
like
came out great.
yeah, I'm a humble dude, you know, like I know my place, like I've said before on our last podcast, you know, and I don't know everything. And actually some points were brought up that I was like, man, I haven't really thought about that before, you know? And so it was actually informative and helpful for me as well. And overall, it was just fun and it was a cool experience for everybody. And the best part for me, honestly, is I've had at least 10 people come back to me after that and be like, man, I dropped 2 seconds off my PR. Or, hey, I got on the podium today for the first time. I did this one thing that you said to do and I did it a little bit differently. Like I did it like you were saying. And I went faster than I've ever been before, whatever it was. But I've had a ton of people keep reaching back out to me about it. And I'm like, wow, that's so rad. It's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, and I'm a
nice to
little bit
know
on
that
the
you're.
fence. I'm a little bit on the fence on that part because I don't need you telling everybody the secrets.
Can't make everyone run
Man,
equal, you know.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
but
they're
then
not, right? Because we're going to keep working on it too. Like people always ask me, like for a while, I was and I'm not the fastest guy, but I had the fastest lap of a video that you can find probably on Chuck Walla. I don't think there's a whole lot of them out there that might be faster than mine, if any. Also, High Plains Raceway, definitely. Well, no, Shane Turpin has a video on a USBA or Utah West, but they're like, why would you post this video so everybody can see it and do what you're doing? And I'm like, well, they can see it, but they still got to do it, and then
Right.
they got to beat me. And if they beat me, then I have to find a way to go faster. It's okay. Like I
yeah,
love that. Like I want that. I want somebody to push me. I'm all about it. And Cole, like you're not getting the easy button. We'll keep working on things for you too. But like, hey, we got to get better, man. Everybody's got to get better. We got to push each other. That's what it's all about.
I'm committed. I threw out 3 options. I ain't messing around.
Yeah, you're committed. You're already moving on 2 out of 3 options. I see it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so the track walk was awesome, man. And uh,
So one thing that really came home, this is just silly, I know, but on that track walk, so that's not the first time I've walked a track. First time I've walked one with you, you know, going through the motions or whatever, but it's just crazy. My wife walked with us,
mhm.
and you know, you go back and you tell people that don't race, you're like, man, when I'm going through this corner, my hair's on fire, like I'm gonna die any second. And when you're walking at a mile an hour out there, you're like, look at all this room. You've got all
yeah.
this room.
Dude,
What's your problem?
it's
Mm-hmm.
so different, man. It is so different. Like it's actually hard to explain some things without going and walking them, right? Like, you know, I brought up in a couple corners about like where we're trying to turn in and where we're trying to apex or be closest to the curbing. And the whole idea about when you turn in too early, you either have to overslow the corner or you'll run wide. I think we get it because we've talked about it all. We go out there and do it, you know, whatever, but maybe somebody doesn't get it. And really, that's a hard picture to paint exactly how it works until you go stand on the track. You go stand on the track and you stand in one spot and you're like, look into that corner.
Yep.
Where are you going if you turn in right now, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
pointed straight off into the woods. But if you move 20 feet further up the track and you look into the corner, it's like, wow, I can already see my exit. You know, it's like, yeah. So, you know,
Yep.
where you want to turn in from then. It's very helpful to some people. To me, honestly, the track walks sometimes kind of scare me. There's like cracks in certain tracks, or you know, there's weird stuff sometimes, and you're like, man, at 160, I don't actually see that. So
Yeah.
This is true.
Or you see something you did see, right? Like you saw, I don't remember where it was, but we went and walked one. It might have been Utah. Like there's this clear line across the track, and you see it every time you go over it. No big deal. It's whatever. You think it's like a sidewalk classic line cut. Then you go walk it, and it's 2 inches thick.
yeah, the whole
Literally,
like the cut marks.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. It's this
yeah,
big old huge chunk just not there, and you're like, huh.
yeah,
I just been
yeah. It looked
riding
like
over
a
that. Like, who cares?
right. It looks like a pencil mark on the ground when you go
Yeah,
past it on the bike.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So there's
insane.
advantages and disadvantages of track walks. And here's the other thing too. I've done track walks at some new tracks this year when I was at Alabama and Atlanta. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go walk this track and see what's going on. And then you go on it the next morning and you're doing like 160 miles an hour in that spot, and it does not look the same. Like, you know, it is what you thought you were going to do when you walked it without having ever ridden it. You realize like, no, that's not actually going to happen. So I think it's pretty beneficial that we did a track walk, and pretty much everybody, I think everybody that was on the track walk with us there in Utah had been there before. It was educated conversation, you know, like everybody's like, oh yeah, like I messed this corner up, or I could be better in this corner, you know. So there was some really good points that were brought up. And again, like I said, my favorite parts were the fact that it was a social hour, right? So I got to hang out with everybody and talk to everybody. Like people that, Cole, you and I, Easton, we talk a lot, but these guys, like I see them at Bass, I'm like, hey, and I got to chop it up with these guys, and it's kind of neat. New racers for me when I was new, I remember guys like Bradley Ward, which you guys, I might have talked about this before, but you guys don't remember the name, maybe do. But he would come around. I was like, dude, that guy is wicked fast. And he would just come hang out and see how my day was going at the racetrack, and it meant a lot to me. And it's really busy at the racetrack, especially with one day racing. And I don't ride Fridays usually. So I'm just in and out and doing my thing. It was really cool for me. So, yeah, that was a great way to kickstart the USBA round 3 weekend.
Sweet.
And then right into the real deal, right?
Right.
Saturday.
Yeah. So we got bikes prepped and everything Friday night after the track walk. We ate some Applebee's, which was a good time.
Yep.
Big group of us went over to Applebee's and then hit the hay for the night. I overslept Friday by a couple hours. Cole tried to wake me up. Didn't work. Showed up real late. So
just for the record, I had to walk over to his room and try to wake him up. I didn't have to roll over to wake him up. Just want to specify.
Okay, I wasn't going there, but all right.
Hey.
Well, that's what you made it sound like.
Hey, never mind. We're not even going down that.
It wasn't a push. It was a knock on the. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't a kiss on the cheek for sure, but. Yeah. So, anyways, woke up Friday a little late. So Cole texted me at like 6 something Saturday. He's like, "Hey, get up." All right. Yeah, I'm up. I'm awake. So this time I was up on time. Rolled out to the track. Tire warmers on. Practice starts at 8. We did our little riders meeting and stuff like that. I was first out for practice. And so I think last round I qualified with a 130.8, I think is what it was, at Utah West.
Yeah, I think that's right.
In the first session of the day, I hit a 130.8 kind of as a warm-up, and I was like, dude, this is great. I'd recently fixed something on.
And the anticipation started to build, not only for Anthony, but for the other people in the pits.
It's like,
for sure.
Dinner.
Yeah. The season's not over yet, bud. And we'll get there.
No,
all
right.
I know. I'm disappointed. I'm getting to that. So yeah, like honestly, at that point, like everybody's like, "Oh man, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?" Right, Cole? Like it was just one of those things. Like it's the talk of the town because apparently nobody's done what I'm looking to do, which is a 29. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that could do it if they showed up, and they haven't showed up, so they didn't do it. But it hasn't been done in a long time. It's been like 6 years or something since 129's been ran that. I come back in. I didn't even put on new tires. I was like, dude, the bike feels good. That's pretty good for qualifying, whatever. I'm just going to go put in some laps. So I went out for the next session, and I think it went 132 as I came, like on my first lap, getting through some traffic or whatever. And then passing people went 130.6, 4, 2, 3. So 130.2, but consistently in the low 130s, which usually for me, I'll knock a couple off and then be in the low 31s. So to take a jump and be more consistently in the 30s was a big deal, right? And so, of course, I'm stoked. I'm like, dang, 130.2, like I am right there. I mean, all you guys imagine, like 0.2 of a second over 2.5 miles, right? Like that was super cool and equally as frustrating. I was like, dude, so close. 0.2 of a second. So that was the joke of the weekend because I never went any faster. I got close to that time, but I never went any faster. So 130.2. Because as soon as the track heated up, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that's the best. That was in the best conditions of the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly. Because as soon as the track heated up, like I could tell you the grip went away. The setup changed on the motorcycle, which I didn't jump on top of that quick enough. So this is cool because you're like, Easton, you're pretty savvy. You're pretty smart, right? Like I know you are. I'm not asking you. Just imagine this. Like I found out this round that as the ambient temperature was heating up, that my forks were losing compression dampening because the fork oil viscosity just changing due to ambient temperature. Right? You with me?
Yeah, I'm following.
Because you guys had asked me in the last podcast about small changes and whether or not it makes a difference, right? 20 degrees of ambient temperature made a difference to where like my lap times in the next couple of races, like I was able to click a couple high 30s, but it was low 31s.
Yep.
And luckily, like I'm consistent enough that I won my races. So the Open Super Stock was my morning race. I won that one. We went into KOM and Gennaro. A little shout out to my buddy Gennaro. He runs really well up there in Utah. He kept me honest for the first couple of laps, right, Cole? It was like 3 laps. He was pretty close. And then from there, I was able to keep the consistency and chip away. I think I ended up winning by like 9 seconds in the end or something. But my lap times really didn't change. I kept the same laps the whole race where other folks were falling off. But I was working on a different problem with the bike. We were chasing some rear shock pumping issues and some front chatter issues, which Fuzzy from Fuzzy Moto helped me get sorted to the best of our ability, given, the fact that I need to make a change that I just couldn't make at the track. But we started to talk about how the bike had changed throughout the day and how it was affecting how I could ride the bike. Usually I use a little bit of throttle to steer with the rear to get the bike to kind of like point towards my exit, and then I can really give it the gas. Mm-hmm. Well, I was losing rear grip because of the heat. The track was greasy. And as a result, like I had to get the bike to turn better on like entry and mid corner so I can get off with the forks feeling softer in the afternoon than in the evening. What we ended up doing was adding a little bit of compression. And I know this is a long story, but I literally just added 2 clicks of compression to the front fork dampening, right? To like give it a little bit more support. And went out in the last race of the day and I just put my head down. I was like, hey, I'm going to do 3 heaters and see where I'm at. Cole's already shaking his head because, like, dude, all of a sudden there was low 30s again, lap after lap after lap, And I was like, dang, and I made one small mistake and I was like, that's good. I'm done for the day because the track was pretty greasy and there was no sense in crashing the bike trying to do a 129, I have next round to do it. Crazy that one little change and a little change up here, a little confidence in it too. But bam, right back to those lap times, running consistently a second faster than I did in KOM, which is arguably the most important race of the weekend. That race was a slaughter, so I was gone.
That race, Easton, he just comes out. We're watching live timing, and it's like 130.8, 130.6, 130.5. It's going the right way. And I was up in the bleachers. I was going, this is the one. It's got to do it now because the tire's going to start going away.
Yeah.
And like you said, he was, so far ahead at that point, and then it clicked back to 131s. And I said,
I turned it off. Like, I think I went into a corner and like the front end slid on me as I was on entry. And I was like, Dad, it's not like at that moment. I'm like, bro, I knew I had an idea what the guys behind me were running. And I was like, dude, I'm like 10 seconds clear right now. There's no reason,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I don't know. But, there was a reason.
There is, but
you say you'll do anything for $1. Yeah, that's true.
I did, but I have another opportunity.
So that's the key. You got to start giving them like round by round bets if you really want them to do something. Otherwise, they'll put it off.
Please, everybody, just
no. Hey, no. Trust me. Out of your $5 and everybody else and everything else, like there's actually a lot of pressure on this. Like a lot. Like ask Cole, dude. There's a lot of people that are like, are you gonna do it today? Are you doing that 29 today?
With all
day, man, all day after he hit that 0.2, it was a caravan of people coming through our pit. You gonna do it? You gonna do it? Like
how
just
you feeling.
That puts a lot of pressure, honestly.
Yeah,
I
believe it. Well, that's just because we have so many listeners, right? Everyone listened and heard you say you wanted to do it.
It was all from the JKMoto podcast. That people that listen have come up. Yeah, and if you're not listening, then you're missing out on incredible feats like a 129 at USBA UMC West. So you don't even know. Yeah,
it's coming. I have faith.
Dude, I do too, man. And honestly, like when I pulled off in the morning in the qualifying session, I was like, dude, I should have went for another one. Because I knew that when that track heats up, it doesn't have the grip that it used to. And that's why it's such a big deal because, like, the track has changed so much over the years without having been resurfaced or anything like that. Like, it's not the same track that it used to be 10 years ago or however long ago it was.
So a quick technical question, right? You said 2 clicks of dampening, I believe, right?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're
damping.
Good. Damping. Yeah, not dampening.
I don't know how you say that word correctly either, so no worries.
Anyway, I'm not a suspension guy, right? But I do understand.
You're like almost defending him. I'm trying to take the hits where I can. Don't come to his rescue.
You idiot.
Do I need to mention that you've had many more years on Earth to figure out how to say that word correctly than I have?
Really?
Plug after plug.
That's where you're going to go?
I just wanted to add a note before your suspension question.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowie won KOM.
Yeah.
And every other race it was entered in. So I don't want to hear your shit anymore about Kawasaki's.
And when I wanted to know something that had to do with damping, I had to go find the D letter in the encyclopedia and then look it up. I didn't have Google in the palm of my hand. You
Yeah,
guys,
you're just dating yourself now. Like, why would you do that to yourself?
it's just the truth.
Also, you did not go look things up in an encyclopedia.
I have a set of encyclopedias right there.
And when was the last time you pulled one out?
Right now.
Right now. I knew that was coming. Ask your question.
Yeah, I do this every day.
Ask your question.
Anyway.
The new book of knowledge.
Yeah, how
this
old
was
is
this was my generation's Google.
That's what's stupid about encyclopedias too, is you have to get a new set every year if you want up-to-date information.
True. Hey, but
anyway,
was great. Okay, yes. All right.
Suspension, right? So I've always had in my head, like, I'm not a good enough rider to feel changes like that, right? And put that aside. That's not necessarily where this is going. But now knowing that, right, you having done some Moto America, you're racing with USBA, CVMA, and privateering a little bit. Is that like something where you might end up building a chart, like a degree ambient chart for how much I need to change? How are you going to take that info you learned this weekend and move forward and apply that?
That's a great question, because I actually thought about that quite a bit on my own. But I take notes, right? So like when me and Cole were at Brainerd, which again we haven't talked much about, we'll touch on it. I don't need to talk too much about it, but when we were at Brainerd, like I have a note from all my settings for that weekend, because it'll be a year before I'm back there again,
Right.
And by that time, I have an old man's brain and I'll forget. So
okay. Young people actually just forget instantly.
Instantly. So. Right. We remember for a little while. What do you want, Jack? What? He's trying to tell me something. So he loves me. He said,
he's got the suspension.
Old, You're not old.
He's got the suspension answers.
He's got the answers for the suspensions. So anyways, before I forget what we were talking about, honestly, like to be straight to the point, what I think I'm going to do, like for USBA next round, like right now, when I pull my bike out, because I haven't unloaded it, I'm going to take those 2 clicks that I added at the end of the day back out, because the bike felt amazing in the beginning of the day, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take those 2 clicks back out to where I started, because I think the plan is now, every time I go out on track, as the day heats up, because it gets hotter and the track temperature gets hotter, like all the way throughout the day, I'll just add 1 click, or maybe every other time, right? So I just know that as the day goes on, that I'm going to lose a little bit of that damping force.
There's no ending. It's damp.
It's wet outside.
Yeah, it's getting wetter.
It's getting wetter.
So here's my real question.
I mean, did that answer it though? Like yes. No, I'm definitely gonna make those changes from now on.
Yeah, I just the notes moving forward to Brainerd, that makes sense. I think the biggest, how do I word this? Where was I even at? Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yeah, I told you we forget like really quick, right? You guys remember for a while. We actually just forget instantly. But no, isn't that point kind of doing the track day the day before?
Can
right?
be.
Would be to go out and test yourself at different times of the day, different temperatures, figure out where it feels good, right? So you should realistically, I think, right, in a perfect world, club racer, you go out to Friday track day, and at least once a session, you're running like right at or near your personal best. And the bike just feels great, right? And
it's
then
not
you
always that easy, but yeah.
I understand that, right? But perfect day, that's what it would be. But realistically, you're going out, you're testing, you're saying, hey, this felt great. Next session, you go out and you're like, well, it's 10 degrees hotter. Bike didn't feel great. Let me adjust, right? And then you could write that down and be like, well, okay, it was blah, blah, blah. Now, whether or not a club racer really needs to do that, I don't know. And before I would have said no freaking way. But now, talking to you, I'm kind of like, maybe that's the next step. Maybe that's how you up your game just one little bit further, is being that guy that does go do the crazy stuff that most of us are like, no, it's way beyond. Leave the MotoGP experts to do stuff like that. We're just going to ride.
I think a lot of people don't understand the implication of the changes on what it does for them on the motorcycle, right? And so that becomes hard. So even club racers, like I talk to a lot of club racers about it, and I'm no suspension genius. Like I have a genius who's I'm lucky enough to call a friend and a brother, right? His name's Fuzzy, Mike Castro. But if I hit the guy up, he always makes the time of day for me. And so I have somebody that I can reach out to. If somebody comes to me and they're talking about it, all I have to offer them is like the information that I have experienced. So if Fuzzy says, make this compression adjustment, and I'm like, oh, wow, like it doesn't dive in the corner as soon as I hit the brakes so much. And then realistically, what the difference was is I felt more confident to like tip into the corner on the brakes and get like and trail brake deeper into the corner to get the thing to actually turn instead of running a little bit wide. Because when it's down on the nose, right? So not only do you need to know what type of change to make, you would also need to know like how it's going to apply to you and like where you're, and you also need to be able to communicate where you're actually struggling. Like a lot of people will go out there and just run a lap time and be like, hey man, like I'm a half a second slow. I don't even know what's going on. You know, me and Fuzzy, again, we talk a lot and sometimes we don't make a change. Maybe he just tells me you're not riding hard enough. You know, you're not
just
up
go
to pace.
faster, bud.
Seriously, like, or he'll tell me like, are you smiling? Are you having fun? Because if you're not, you need to go have fun before we talk about changing the bike. You know, because
is
you
that
can't
the same?
just go
Like,
around making.
don't ever go to bed angry. Is that the
Kind
same?
of the
Like,
same thing.
don't ever make suspension adjustments angry.
Well, yeah, because here's
All right.
why. Because when you're happy, you're having fun, you're going fast. Now the changes you made are irrelevant. You know, like it's you stiffen the bike up, and now it's too damn stiff because you're riding like an asshat earlier. All that stuff comes into account, and I think that's why a lot of people really don't go down that rabbit hole, is because you either don't know or you don't have the resource. Now, can it make a difference? I think was really the question. Like, can you go test and make some changes and make the difference? Absolutely. I am not the best motorcycle racer to ever walk the earth by any means, right? I've gotten to a point where I'm on the sharper end of the sword for the places that I'm going most of the time, or at least half the time, we'll say. So yeah, those little changes make a difference. Or like, little increments. Like we're talking now, I'm chasing 0.2 of a second.
Right.
Cole just picked up a whole second on his PR, and I was lucky that I picked up 0.4 on my PR. That's a big chunk when you're at the sharper end of the sword, right?
Yeah.
And so on the sharper end of the sword, that 1 or 2 clicks of compression are also a pretty big change.
Big difference in a relative
right.
term. Yep.
Right. Or we talked about tire pressure last time we were on here. That 2 clicks is equivalent to a pound of pressure, where it could be multiple pounds of pressure that somebody else would have no idea. They're like, yeah, oh, you changed my tire pressure. Wow, I had no idea. The little things are really important. And I tell people too, like as people start to get faster, on the motorcycles and racing or whatever, like Cole, you're going to get to that point where it's like, dude, it's something so small that it becomes your hurdle. It's just the little things make the biggest difference. I mean, for me, 131s to 130s, we're talking 0.5 to a full second a lap was 2 clicks of compression.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, Easton, is so I'm no speed demon at this point, but considerably faster than I was in recent history. And some of those questions we asked Anthony last time he was on here regarding if he could feel those changes, I feel like I'm definitely to a point. In the past, I could run a tire until there was wires sticking out of it, and
never noticed.
I don't know if I cared, right?
Right.
But now I'm feeling it in a round.
Yeah.
Like literally I'm feeling what we see in Anthony's times or anybody else that's running those higher speeds, but I'm feeling it personally now, where now this tire's starting to move around. I don't want this tire anymore. Give me a new tire. You know, I did those 2 rounds back to back and I was like, just get through this one. I can't wait to throw a new tire on this thing.
Yeah.
And that was before she shelled her nuts, but
So we actually had on Saturday, we missed you, Cole. So a couple things. We went and did tacos with Josh Fisher, which you guys did a YouTube video with him. So if you guys listening haven't checked that out, it's pretty rad. They talk about tech when it comes to race tech and I think some track day tech. Yeah, like there's a somewhere around here there will be. So yeah, but anyways, we went to Josh Fisher's house, the tech guy. Also badass racer of his own regard. We did tacos and stuff like that, but we ended up having a conversation with somebody who owns a motorcycle, and they didn't really like understand the differences between track day and race riding. And they're like, man, but I got to buy those tires that you have and that you guys use, and you're switching your tires all the time. And we're like, no, like you're going to go out there and ride all day and then ride your bike home and ride all month on the same tires. It's not the same thing as what we're doing. Right. So like for you track day folks out there, we talk about some of these things, and do you need to do it? No. Do you want to do it? Should you have somebody adjust your suspension or make sure you got some good tires on the bike? Absolutely. But, you don't like we're talking about changing tires multiple times in a day because it's costing us a half a second a lap. And then I can tell you that it don't freaking matter if you're out there riding track day and having a good time. Like you can if you're half a second slower, who cares? Like, just have fun, go ride with your buddies or whatever, But for us, we live our lives a tenth of a second or a half of a second at a time sometimes. So,
Again,
more tires, baby.
Live my life a quarter second at a time, or quarter mile at a
Quarter
time.
mile at a time. Yeah.
I think you do too.
There's a little bit of a cross reference there for sure. But it's true. Like, I literally the entire way home, and I think this came up on the Lost podcast too, the entire way home, I was like, damn, what do I got to do?
Where is it?
To make sure I go 2/10 faster next round, because it's absolutely going to happen, or I'll be flying Easton and Cole to my house in Vegas to rebuild my motorcycle because I tried too hard.
I didn't get to think about those things on the way home this time. I was just thinking about how I get back.
Yeah,
dude, so I wanted to bring that up too, man. And I hope Dustin or Chase like eventually listen to this, but Dustin Lance is an amazing person of the sport. Like, he sponsors the USBA with Utah Motorcycle Law. He's sponsored me personally and helped me do some stuff with my racing career. He's just an awesome dude. He loves this stuff. He loves motorcycles. He loves riding, street, track, whatever. Chase and Ethan, his boys, are awesome. Unfortunately, we do this thing that people consider dangerous, motorcycle racing, right? And if you don't know, you may not understand where this is going, so hang tight. So all day long, we're out there zooming around a racetrack doing 160 miles an hour top speeds, and laying it down on our knees and our elbows. And every time I show somebody a picture of what I do, they say I'm crazy, right? Crazy.
it's right there.
These guys, all day long, were doing this with us, Dustin and Chase, and they packed up at the end of the day on Saturday, just like the rest of us. They headed home, just like the rest of us, or just like you guys that went and watched your movie or went bowling or whatever it is you do on a Saturday afternoon with your free time. They made it a half of a mile from the racetrack, and some idiot running a red stop sign at 80 miles an hour took them out. Luckily, everybody lived. They weren't sure about that with the guy who ran the stop sign, but it flipped the truck over, it flipped the trailer over. The people in the car that ran the stop sign got life flighted. Dustin and Chase ended up in the hospital, And at the end of the day, like, I just want to say, we love you guys. You guys are great for the sport. I'm really sorry this happened, and we hope you get well soon and come back racing with us, because they will be. But I don't want to hear any more crap about these people talking about how motorcycle riding and racing is so damn dangerous anymore, because, I'll be honest with you, I'm more afraid driving around the streets of Las Vegas doing my job on a daily basis than I am out there riding a motorcycle. This is a pretty dang safe sport if you think all things considered, So
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Get on a racetrack.
Yeah,
Can we lighten the mood a little bit and talk about the
100%? I'm sorry.
pit bull
Go
trailer
ahead.
restraints?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That can happen. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
cool. I saw
So we all
some
go
pictures
ahead.
of the wreck on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right, and condolences out. Hope you guys make it back soon. Hope everyone's got a good recovery. We said that if you don't have a pit bull trailer restraint system for your bike, you should highly consider getting one. I don't know if you heard correctly, but 80 mile an hour stop sign run flipped the trailer over, right? We're talking like a 20 to 24 foot enclosed trailer. Got flipped over, not just like right there, but onto the edge of the road and then on its like upside down. The motorcycle was hanging by its back wheel, still in the pit bull trailer restraint system.
Even like laterally once we flipped the trailer over. So I went out there, and I'm pulling up a picture. I'm going to kind of like hold it up to the camera so you can see it.
Gotcha.
But actually, there it is. So this is a picture of the trailer. I know it's hard to see because it glares or whatever. There you go. That's the trailer upside down.
Yeah, that N looking thing, that's supposed to be a U and an M and then an L.
Yeah, so that thing's upside down. You can see the trailer tires up in the air. They'd already rolled the truck over because the truck had rolled over too, right? So that's upside down. Now, these pit bull restraint systems that you're talking about, this one, so when you look at this picture, there's two guys standing in the foreground of the picture. They're standing on the ground. They're not standing on the sidewall of the trailer. The bottom of the trailer is like perpendicular to the ground. And here's the motorcycle. For the most part, undamaged. I don't know if you can see that, but there's two guys in that motorcycle just sticking straight out in the middle of the air, attached to that TRS system. Ultimately, that bike right there was fairly unscathed. Like it had some scratches and stuff, but I personally would have taken that thing and just looked it over real quick and then took it out on the racetrack. Hey,
Ran a 129.
Yeah.
except for it's a piano. That's a different story.
Oh man. Pirate bikes, pianos, and yeah.
So
and broken transmissions, broken trannies.
Since
Can't
we're
say that
making
anymore as a PC.
you know what else was in that trailer, Easton?
No.
Did you notice?
Aprilia.
Did you notice one of those bikes did not have the pit bull restraints?
I didn't actually. No, I think the only picture I saw was with the one bike in there.
I think there was the Cowie, the ZX4RR that didn't have. Ooh. He's got one of the only ones. Dude, that thing is rad, by the way. That thing is
I
so
want
cool.
one.
I didn't even get a chance to ride it, but like just listening to it and knowing it's a little 400, I was like, "Woo, that's cool."
I've been telling anyone that like is a little deeper into the world and talking about smaller bikes, I'm like, keep an eye out. Ninja 400RR. I'm not a Cowie guy, but it does look pretty sweet. It's a sweet idea. Like why no one's done that yet baffles me, honestly.
I think I don't know about the European configurations, but I know they have bikes that we don't that are smaller displacement that do some wild stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think it's pretty cool that we got it here. The only problem with this bike is going to be that Cowie's the only one that makes it again. The Cowie 400 as far as a race class. If you're running a junior cup bike or an ultra lightweight bike, like if you don't have the Cowie 400, unless you're Rossi Moore on the KTM 390, shout out for the big win at Brainerd. We got to hang out with him a little bit. Yep. But like everybody else is on a Ninja 400 and you can't ride the R3s to keep up with that thing or whatever, like you need the 400. So now that this thing comes around, like, dude, that's going to be a whole debacle for club racing. Cause like and even Moto America or whatever, like where are you going to fit that bike into the puzzle? Like you're going to make everybody who races little bikes go buy one. Yeah, great for Cowie. Great for Cowie.
Great marketing strategy.
Yeah. To the top. But yeah, so that was in there, and then the Aprilia was in there, and 2 R6s were in there, and a bunch of gear and everything like that. So talking about Track Family, it was like 8:30 by the time we were allowed to go there and check it out. There was close to a dozen people that showed up, and we unloaded everything out of the wreck trailer. The police officers did a great job, and first responders and everything. We thank them very much for their service, but they helped us safely. Because it actually was a precarious situation. They helped us safely get the bikes out and get everything loaded up into Trevor of the Weekend Garage for you Utah guys. Show some love. He came back and helped us by loading everything up into his personal trailer and storing it for Dustin and Chase until they were able to collect it and start putting things back together. But man, what an ordeal! Like, on the drop of a hat, everybody was there to help with this. And to the TRS things, the bikes weren't that bad. Like. Naturally, the worst thing was just the injuries to the passengers of both vehicles. And again, I hope you guys heal up well and safe and drive safe out there, folks. Like you think racing motorcycles, stop for stop signs. Try not speeding so much, and stop giving the motorcycle hellions a hard time.
Give me 1 minute.
See ya.
Are you serious again?
Right? I mean, we're an hour and 26 minutes into this thing. Maybe don't timestamp that because we might edit some of the stuff out. But yeah. So he's like, I got a tinkle or something, probably.
That's because he's drinking that whole mom mug.
The whole mom mug. I know I'm dying of thirst. I could use a drink. But, Jack, go get me a drink.
I got my homework.
Oh, that a boy. I seen the smart water earlier. That's my go-to. So good work. I don't know. I've got to unload the bikes tonight still. I haven't unloaded the motorcycles yet. So I've got to unload the bikes and I've got to make room in the garage and we got to fix a ZX6, which I have a new gas tank and some fresh goodies for over here. And then I got to wipe the old ZX10R off and get her ready for the next shindig and use the trailer for a work-related deal tomorrow. So I got a lot of work cut out for me later tonight still. But the point is homework. I was sore from this weekend because I, started working out again and everything else. And then this weekend, but I'm not going to stop, man. I'm going to go for a little run out here in the sweltering, hellish heat of Vegas and get a little workout in after that. And we're going to eat some dinner here soon. So yeah.
Good. I'm going to get a nice walk from my car to the airport tomorrow. So I'll call that.
Where you headed?
Connecticut.
Ah, we got family back there. I
Yeah.
haven't been in years. Yeah. Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I was going to go back there this
Not
fall.
the UP.
Not the UP, no. But the UP's coming up next, I think, right? We'll touch on that at least before we go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was going to go back there this fall, but then my brother, he lives in Rhode Island, so I hardly get to see him. He's coming out here in September. So he's coming out here in September. So I'm not going back to the East Coast, but next year I'll go back to the East Coast. Yeah, I keep hoping that like maybe we'll race Pittsburgh or New Jersey with the stock 1000 class, something that gets really close to the family there, so they can come out and watch it.
Right.
Because it's always cool having family. Which you had family come out, bummer, but it was cool that your family and friends came out this weekend. So we love that, guys. Like support your friends, support your families.
Yeah, absolutely.
If
It's
you're
like
listening to this.
club racing level. I don't know if you know, but I don't think it costs anything to go spectate.
So we've said on here before that it's a great event for spectators, whether you know somebody that's racing or not. They should come out and at least watch some of the bigger classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The king of the mountain race, like super worth it. I mean, if you take Anthony out of the picture, because he's just not even in it, really, honestly, he's so far ahead. But beyond that,
hey, this time I got a good start. So yeah, but Gennaro was also right on my butt. So it was an interesting, at least first few laps.
Yeah.
So Troy, the gentleman that was there with me.
Yeah.
So we were sitting up there watching one of those races, and he was looking around. You see, he likes to ask questions.
Yeah.
He was looking around and he said, "How come they don't charge for this?"
Right. For real. And I'll be honest with you, like I'm on the position of charging people to come see it, right? And I'll tell you why. And it's a selfish reason why, kind of. It's because I love the sport. And I love seeing the people come out. So like if charging them meant they didn't come out, then I would say don't charge them.
Right.
But if you're willing to show up to support, and you can fill up your car with 17 people, and we charge you $10 a car to come in.
Right.
You can see all the U-Haul vans coming in.
I would argue that if you were charging money, you may get more people because they'd
advertise.
Like, oh wow, you have to pay for this. It must be that cool, right?
Yeah.
So, but seriously, but then you take that money and you turn around and you give it back to the sport. You support the racers. You throw up a little purse money for the amateur racer who's there on takeoffs, but really should be on new tires. Like maybe that could help him out that weekend. I've always thought that was a cool idea, And so some tracks like CVMA, I think it's $10 a head to get in. And if I have family come out, I usually try to pay for it or something in advance. Or sometimes my family has surprised me and just showed up knowing I was racing. I didn't have a chance, but whatever. But yeah, I think for $10 a person or something like that, even that is still worth it. Like Troy said, why don't they charge for this? And UMC was a little bit like Brainerd was when we were there a couple of weeks ago this weekend, because they were doing some stuff with building the infield track with the caterpillars and fluffy clouds and stuff. And then they also had some drift car stuff going on, right? So some of your family actually got free rides in drift cars or something, didn't they?
Yeah, I was calling them hitchhikers. They had they had
I'm listening. I'm grabbing a drink. Yeah, go.
Road Racing Association was there, doing what do they call that? Autocross.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So it was a timed event, and it was a competition. What they did is they had a table full of white helmets, and if you went and signed a waiver, you could get a helmet, and then they allowed you to walk through the pits. I mean, you've got Corvettes, there was some Cobra replicas, there was Teslas, there was Subarus, Ford Focuses, everything you can imagine out there. And if you had the white helmet, you could walk in the pits and try to convince somebody to give you a ride. That's how they were working that.
Dude, that Camaro with the broken seatbelt.
Yeah,
that thing sounded awesome, by the way. Nothing like a throaty V8 just sliding around. Wah, wah, wah. I was like, dude, that is cool.
Yeah.
We were watching one of the races later on and listening into that. I was like, dude, that's so rad. Cars scare me though, guys. Obviously, car crashes and hospitals and stuff. But Yeah, it was cool. There was a lot going on. So that was the point, right? Like come out to the racetrack. There's always something else happening. Like, and again, like even, again at Brainerd and then back here, like you had some conversations with some random people that were asking questions about what was going on and how the racing works. And you got some old man coming to a track day now. And, it's cool. Like interacting, like it's just a fun day. And plus like a little sunshine goes a long way. So
Yeah. You would know about that where you're from.
yeah, I stay inside as much as possible. Actually, I get too much sunshine.
I've been
It was
seeing
freaking
videos.
hot.
Been seeing videos of trucks with like mud tires, and they don't have much tire left anymore down near your area with the temperatures you've been seeing lately.
Yeah,
Just
it's like
the
110.
tire like leaves, but half of it's still like in between the tire and the road. Warm days.
Yeah. No, it's been terrible. So, what about some Brainerd talk, huh?
Well, what about
what
it?
do you want to share with Brainerd? Because
I told you told me, and I'm gonna throw you under the bus here, to your listeners because you withheld information. We went to Brainerd, and I told Cole because he was gracious enough to fly out and help me with the weekend because man, it's a lot of work to do by yourself, especially those pro rounds. So it was really fun. We had a great time. I think it was really awesome. I know you could tell by the way Cole was talking about it last round, and I know he talked to you while we were there at Easton, and it was super cool, man. And you were at Atlanta, so you've seen a lot of this. That's where we got to meet up for the first time. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to share that experience or whatever. I'm glad Cole got a chance to go do this with us. But dude, it's a good time. Like it was a new track for me, so just get the personal stuff, the racing out of the way, and then I want to talk about some other things about it. It was a new track, and I love the track. Brainerd gets some flack, but there's only 2 turns that were kind of iffy. The carousel was not iffy. It was just like it's kind of weird. It just didn't fit the rest of the flow for the rest of the track. And then you had, for safety purposes, they have this really aggressive chicane just out of the carousel. And I can tell you it's really aggressive because in my first practice of the day, I missed it 10 out of 12 times. and Cole can verify for how serious missing the chicane conversation was with the riders meeting.
yeah.
But
that was if I remember right, that's added in after like a kind of cone style going on there.
Yeah, and it's become more of a permanent fixture. It is added in after, but it's kind of a permanent fixture. It's kind of weird how it went out. And they got one going for Pittsburgh for this weekend, this coming weekend's Moto America event. They have to run it with bikes because otherwise there's a wall that you're going straight into wide open. Something happens, it could be bad. So there was an incident at Brainerd last year. So rest in peace, Scott Briotti. But they made a small change to the track this year, including also adding some more air fencing to make sure that didn't happen. And that was a freak thing. Like there's when I walked the track and I looked at what happened there, I was like, dude, how did that even happen? Like, poor guy, it was just a completely freak accident. Again, the track was phenomenal and they're doing great things to keep it safe, which is great for the sport and everything like that. But I had a really good time with the track. The only thing I didn't have a good time with is I do suffer from arm pump. So
yes.
Yeah,
arm
that
pump.
track. Yeah. You want to talk about that?
No, I just
All right.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I
Do you
don't
know what
think
it
I've
is?
I'm assuming mostly forearm / just when you're heavy braking and then heavy acceleration. How much?
That's a big part of it, but a lot of it comes from other things too. Like for me, it's like the angle I create in my wrist, right? Like from, and so on tracks, right-handed tracks, like Brainerd, where there's primarily right-hand corners, it affects me a lot more than for say like at Utah, where we're going counterclockwise, right?
Yep.
Counterclockwise. So, Brainerd was a tough one for me. There is some heavy braking, and you don't really get time to rest because even the straightaways are turns. Like turn 1 is like wide open, and you're on a need 150 miles an hour or whatever. So there's not really any time to give your arm a break. So unfortunately for me, when it came to racing, the first half of the races, like qualifying it was okay. I went faster. I ended up starting like 16th or something, but I think in both races I ended up as far forward as 12th or 11th. So I was making my way forward, and it was very exciting and everything. But man, when that arm pump creeps in, at least for me, it causes so much pain and like a lack of movement and strength that pulling the brake lever gets hard. it really gets hard to like run the same pace, right? It really gets hard to battle with people and stuff like that. So really, especially on Sunday after fighting it all weekend and every day, it's kind of getting worse because it just never has a chance to like recover. By Sunday afternoon, I was toast. I was like, I made it up to 11th in the race and I lost one, lost another one. We got some points. So that's cool. Right. But, in the back of my mind, Cole and I both know from what we saw that we could have finished further up. And it's a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, like it was very fun. So some other notes about Brainerd, like we walked around in the pits and, we got to see all kinds of people. We got to talk to all kinds of fans, and he talked about some of the extracurricular activities that were going on.
Mm-hmm.
Kids,
maple syrup bats and all the, yeah.
Absolutely. I smell maple syrup as soon as you said that. That's very weird. So, kids are walking by and, they plop them on the bike and they get to take pictures and stuff like that. So, like, it was really cool. After the race on Sunday, because Stock 1000, usually the race is early on Sunday, we actually had an opportunity to enjoy the rest of the day and watch some races and stuff like that. So he told you about that. We went out and watched some superbike races. My buddy Corey Alexander had a rough weekend, and I feel really bad, man. And I hope he makes up for it here at Pittsburgh because I idolize that guy. He's super cool, super fast, current Stock 1000 champion from last year, bumped up to Superbike. He wadded up a bike pretty good in practice or qualifying or something. And in turn one, like just low-sided, simple low-side, but it's 150 miles an hour, so the bike got demolished, Right. So in race 2, Superbike, he was actually making a push because they had to work on the bike and they got some stuff sorted. And so he's coming back through, running a great race and just lost the front. And we just so happened to be like right there when it happened. It was really close to the end of the race. So we watched the end of the race. PJ Jacobson, as you guys talked about, took the win. Super stoked for that guy because he had a great weekend and rode his ass off. So then we're in the truck and we're making our way back. And we kind of laughed about it later, but like, I know Corey, so from CVMA and stuff, and I look over and I'm like, hey, Corey, you need a ride? Because he's standing there. And, like, the last thing you want to do is wait all day for the crash truck when you crash and go in and take that ride of shame, I call it that, no bashing. It happens to all of us. But so I'm like, Corey, you need a ride? He's like, yeah. So we threw Corey Alexander in the back of the truck and towed him back to the paddock or whatever, dude. So we're hanging out with Corey and it's like, don't make any crashing jokes or anything, that's a sensitive time
keep
period.
it easy.
But I mean, he was, he actually got out. He had us get out because he wanted to go to the podium because he knows PJ won, right? So amongst all that, like we chit-chatted and stuff. He was cool, cordial, whatever. But we dropped him off at the podium so he can go congratulate his teammate, right? Like the kind of guy Corey is. He's an awesome guy. But, talking about going to Moto America rounds or going to races, like that was a pretty cool experience, I think, like – it was a real bummer for Corey, but like we got to help him out a little bit. And, it was something for us to remember too. It just goes to show other things that you can see and do and experience on a race weekend, whether it's club racing or, Moto America round. So if you haven't been, get your ass out there and go support. Yeah.
Right.
But we've been kind of long, so I didn't want to talk too much about Brainerd, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to going back there next year. Like Cole said, the event itself was phenomenal. Like it was a great time. The track was great. I want better results, which just means I'm hungry to do it again. So,
So, I mean, it sounds like you're planning on that next year. Do you have any others that you're planning on doing privateering for?
This year ain't over yet.
Well, yeah,
it ain't over yet. Correct. So this year, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do all this stuff, but I got USBA one weekend, COTA for Moto America for the last round of Stock 1000, which again, I've never been to, which is why I'm going to it. Doing that the weekend after, so the second weekend of September, and then the third weekend of September, we got a wedding for my boy Ty that we've talked about already, and Rainy. So busy September, but yeah, we're doing that. And then I haven't let this cat out of the bag yet, but you guys,
drum roll,
exclusive.
Yeah.
There's going to be multiple exclusivity that we can release on this show, and this is the first one. Drum roll has ended because I kept talking, but we're going to try to do a full season next year, Stock 1000. Like legit, get out there with our own bikes, our own programs. We've got some data. We've seen the tracks, right? Like, let's just see what an old man can do out there. So, next year, full season, Stock 1000. Now, there's other news to come along with that, and that'll roll out slowly, but you're here to hear it first. check out Privateer Industries to support, because it's going to be a privateer based and promoted team. So it'll be not just myself, but a few privateers going to do a full round or season of Moto America. So
sweet. Yeah, I'll have that'll also be down. PrivateerIndustries.com, I believe.
not yet. So just
Not yet. Okay.
for Instagram. So if you
Okay.
could go give it a follow at Privateer Industries, Privateer.industries technically on Instagram. But I haven't done much promoting with that or whatever. Like the last thing I want to do is be like, hey, like give us money or whatever for us to go racing. But like there's actually gonna be some really cool product that we're coming out with. It's really lifestyle. Like the product will speak for itself. But a lot of us do this for the passion. We spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of time away from our families. I mean, this is the first time I've been home, thanks to work and racing, but this is the first time I've been home in 12 days or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we make a lot of sacrifices for this sport and what we do. And there's a lot of passion and there's a heart and there's a certain type of individual that is really just an amazing human being that does this, right? Privateer Industries at the root is a lifestyle brand, but it's also literally a privateer race team. And next year will be Privateer Industries' first go at nationals racing as a full season and as a team.
I like it. I look forward to seeing
yeah.
what you can do. We'll put our help where we can.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That'd be sweet. So, yeah, to kind of wrap things up, my second lookup, if you will, or thing that I needed to check on. Yeah, note 2 from last
What
week.
letter do I need?
D.
This is
Dampening.
just whether this is also a little bit of advertisement, I guess. Maybe I'm not going to call it that for sure, but Track Day Massacre, October 27th, 28th, 29th. Yep, not under the lights.
Unfortunately,
the track day riding will happen during the day, but there will be activities going on at night. So there will be lights, I think, for those events,
Jack
or maybe
says
not because
be
it's
there.
Halloween. Yeah, Jack Miller said he's going to be there, so
yeah,
he'll be nearby.
Join Jack Miller at the Track Day Massacre.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of spooky, right? Some people don't like these little creepy crawlies, but it's Halloween.
Yeah, you can't call them crawlers. They don't have feet.
What do you call it?
A snake?
Snaking?
Yeah, don't they like slither or whatever?
Slither. There you go.
All right, we have devolved. Are you done with your advertisements?
We have to have something on every podcast that is absolutely not motorcycle related, right?
I promised.
We're holding the gardening away this time, but
it is Jack Miller.
Yeah,
Miller.
yeah. So it is. Yeah, it is motorcycle related. So
it is.
You can get out of here.
It fits.
But yeah, won't be under the lights, but it'll be a great time. 3 days, 3 different layouts, 1 track, 1 location. Arizona Podium Club, Casa Grande. Get there. Jack Miller will be there. We'll see you there.
Hell yeah!
Perfect. We out.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
So long from Jack Miller and the Lug Nut. Thank you, boys. Great seeing you guys. Talk to you soon.